Okay, so we're back with more development stuff. Now, it's been an interesting last day and a half. So yesterday I had multiple power failures, kept flipping a breaker in my house and kept, of course, taking my computer offline. Each time it happened, well, I lost a little bit of work, corrupted multiple files, but good thing is I have enough of a backup that I didn't lose anything important. Most of the things that were lost were things that were already archived online that I could just download brand new copies of. Outside of that, I just found out one of my buddies, which I now refrain from calling buddy Max Wolf. Um, he apparently stole an indie game from another developer and had pretty much shut out the other developer. Let me get the article and pop it up here real quick. So I got this in an announcement, so anybody who's in my Discord server can get the link here, but click this. And it turns out that what had happened is these two guys worked on it. So Max Wolf and however you pronounce his name had worked on creating this game. This guy was the original creator. He made the game, got it going really, really well, made it work. Max Wolf then joined the team, and then they both kind of pushed it forward with this guy doing most of the work. And then Max Swift at this point has claimed that it's mostly his game, and of course is selling it on Steam and making money and et cetera, et cetera. Now I worked with Max Swift to help alpha test this game along with Incognito. As well, I tried to get into developing with Space Truckers. I did do a lot of alpha testing for Space Truckers, did a lot of prototyping, in which I would play the game and I would go like, "Hey Maxwell, let's do this. Let's do make sure we get some GUIs in this. Let's make sure we change this around, and that way the users have a much better time." I also talked about level design and how to best go through things. I was majority ignored though. It took me a while to realize that that was happening. Eventually, I got kicked out of the team after I raised copyright concerns because he was using assets from other games to get his prototype up and going for his game. And I'm like, yeah, it's okay we're using these, but we need to make sure we get rid of them as quickly as possible. Because when you're making a prototype game, you can use whatever you want as long as you don't claim it to be yours and you don't distribute those files. So if you're just doing a local game thing, you can like whatever use like a copy of Mario or something. But as soon as you distribute that, then you violate copyrights. Of course, he actually distributed live copies of the game, both alpha and beta, and final release versions that all contain copyright stuff. Now, his final version doesn't have as much material into it, but there's been quite a few people that have pointed it out, and I like to believe them because I do have the original code on my computer, and it does contain a lot of those copyrighted materials, and I can probably go check the final version and see how much is in there. Of course, I'm not going to actually do that because, well, I like to stay at least on partial good terms with Max Wolf because he does have the power to screw me over if possible. But ignoring all that, set that aside. We're going to get to mod development here. Now, I have been working on this. I did make 2 additional recordings yesterday that I cannot upload because in the middle of them being uploaded to YouTube, power failed and corrupted both files. I cannot figure out how to retrieve them, so I just went ahead and deleted both of them. They weren't much. They were 35 minutes with the first one, 47 with the second one, and I just kind of worked on cleaning this up as well as I went and fixed a couple bugs and some other stuff. So we're going to get back to working on this. Now, not much has changed. I just kind of started going through and ensuring that things are kind of more stable, fixing minor issues as I went. You won't notice any graphical changes from last time, but the local is now checking permission nodes. I know this won't prevent people from doing stupid things with the permission system, but it will slow them down. Of course, the server is validating every single thing we have, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, there's also a weird thing is that the profile we previously had is not loading. I'm going to go check to see if that actually exists. I'm going to go see if I can maybe fix it to load again. Although I like to point out the nodes are going to be a little screwed up as I did change the permission nodes a bit to fix the fact that the group permission nodes were not extending the profile permission nodes, so the group and profile were 2 separate systems, which was designed that way intentionally, but then I realized, you know what, this is going to get confusing if somebody wants to give somebody the permission node to edit everything in the profile, but it doesn't include the group. And right now I don't think we have any user permission nodes, so we'll have to go add those here later. If we go to run 2, which is what we're currently in, then we go to saves, and we're in this world, BBM, access, profile. So our profile is here, but it did not load. So we need to go check to see what happened to our load system. That should be the global access system is where that's registered. And what I may have failed to do is just call init or something. I think that might be the case. Yeah, I'm not calling a init, so we're gonna go ahead and close Minecraft, and then we're gonna set this up. I set this up to be a loadable object to set everything up, but I forgot to go into Volts Engine. This is right around when I was having all those power failures. I got it fixed, by the way. Okay, my computer's in a backup power supply now, and I removed as much applications out, or as much devices out of my room as possible to prevent from flipping that 15 amp breaker. Still having a bit of issues, and I think I do have it completely solved. As I think we narrowed it down to a internet through the power socket device, which is a device that sends internet signals through power lines in order to work. We believe it was surging and causing the breaker to flip, because the breaker that goes to my room has a surge protector built into the breaker itself and a ground fault protection, and then several of the other rooms in the house which had these devices in them did not. So they weren't flipping, but the ones that did were flipping. And on top of this, the stupidity of this also, which is I got really frustrated and ended up fixing a lot of things, and I'm probably going to end up doing it as well, rewiring part of this house, is a third of the house is all in one breaker. So both of the bathrooms that are in this house, the hallway lights that go between the rooms, the laundry lights, and my room are all in the same breaker. So when you look at it, I have maybe half of that breaker to work with. So my room can only use about 7 of those amps before it's a bit too much. And when you're talking about, I got a computer that sucks up 2 to 3 amps by itself, not including the monitors, speakers, audio recording equipment, amplifiers I have, charging devices, server computers, which are all turned off and unplugged now because I don't want to risk flipping the breaker again. Yeah, it's a bit much. Anyways, I should have been working my way through the file chain here while I was talking. I kind of wanted to get that off my mind because I've been venting about that for a while. I vented about that on Twitter, and this isn't the first time it's happened. I've known this issue's existed for quite a while, and have been trying to figure out the best way to handle it with my limited resources because I don't have money to go buy stuff. I don't have money to hire an electrician. Luckily, I am actually a trained electrician, although I'm not certified, so I could actually do the stuff myself. I think we want to apply it down here somewhere. There's a group profile handler. I think this is... What is this? I think this is for the permission system for the commands, so we'll have to come back and look at this and make sure it's still working. And we definitely need to take all of this crap and put this into static variables because I don't want to be referencing a lot of that through the weird node system. Yeah, this is definitely for the commands and stuff. These are for chat commands because we're seeing a lot of the Minecraft vanilla commands, and I think how the system's designed is it puts everything on root, then puts it under the mod name, which Minecraft is registered as a mod inside of Forge, and then gives you the permission node. I believe all the modded commands are set up this way, but I think you have to turn the permission system on. Save version and build number in case we have this. Oh wow, this needs to be. I actually need to take this. I need to put this into all the save handlers, so the save system will always save not only the day it was saved, but what version of the game it was saved with. That way, if I do need to report a lot of save handling, I can do it. Let's copy that actually, and we can go to This should be registered through the save system, and I'm not seeing the save call for it. I mean, here's the save manager. I think this is what we need, because it's like, you call save object, and then down here is where it actually is saved at. And then what we want to do is we want to put this down here, and we want to go tag VE version, and then it's version plus build number is how it actually is checked. Actually, I think the version number now includes the build number. Yeah, it actually does. So we want to... Yeah, we want to remove this back part, and we just want to pop the version on here. So it goes major, minor, revise, and then build version. Although technically there's a B here, but I had to change it to a dot due to Forge standard requiring a dot now. That'll work. So get rid of group handler. But yeah, this is a good spot to put it. So we want to load dot or loader dot apply module. For those who wonder what I'm doing in the system here, this is a loadable system. It's designed to load proxies pretty much. So back when we were working on the UE team, Aiden, Kalklavi, and me came up with this idea to use a proxy system. I was one of the first people to start implementing something very similar to it, and then Aiden and Kalklavi looked at my ideal and went along with their own, and they built the system for UE. Then when I took over Resonant Engine, I updated it and called it the loadable system, and then kind of improved it. And then when we eventually got the Volts engine, this is the version we currently have, which is the loadable system. It works pretty much by identifying if it should load or not. If it does not need to load, it doesn't load. If it wants to load, it loads. We do all of our recipes through here. We do all of our mod support through this because we can check to see if the mod is loaded, and I have a list of mods to check against. If I don't have the mod in the list, I can literally just go loader is loaded. So there actually is. So if I did something like this, this is the FML loader, and you can go is mod loaded, and that'll work. Which is what these literally do. They check is mod loaded, and there's a list of mods in here that we sort of support, but I want to get this list much longer, and I actually want to replace this list with a JSON thing, so that way I could just go, okay, grab the entry for open computers, and then it'll tell me all of its mod IDs in case the mod IDs change, because a lot of that stuff's supposed to be going to lowercase now. Anyways, we're right here. This needs to be global access system dot instance. Technically, the group profile thing should run through the global access. Actually, no, we'll keep the two separate because this is meant to be for your commands and this is meant to be for your machines and stuff. We'll also keep the faction system separated from the global access system. Sorta. We'll make the two talk to each other, but the faction system needs to be separated because it'll be used in a much different way. That'll be for the Artilex, by the way. So I will be having a mod that's similar to Townie, but it will be built into a larger mod. I may separate the code to make the faction stuff work without the mod, but that is definitely going to come maybe a year down the road before I get that done. So we get this loaded, and if we load up, it should load. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the global access system, and I'm going to put a marker here so I can watch it load. Make sure I've got everything set up properly. Someone tells me this part might be wrong, or if this is wrong, I need to catch this part. Actually, no, we'll hit stop real quick, and we'll catch this part. So this should be in the access profile is where this is at. So it'll be public static final string save folder, and then we'll go down to the bottom where this is actually used, and we'll make sure it's substituted. That way we don't have to worry about these being incorrect. And then I need to make sure there's a backslash on that. Yeah, there's a backslash. Okay. Is it a backslash or a forward slash? I don't know what these are. I just call them file separators pretty much. But there is a name for them. I want to say this is a forward slash because it goes forward, but I honestly don't know. Anyways, we have an error here, which I need to do that. So this will be access profile.save folder. That way we have no ambiguity that these are different locations and stuff, and we can just go ahead and run and debug. We're on Friday now. I'm hoping to get this stuff done in the next 2 days, so at least if I can't get you guys a 1.8 update, if anything, I could just get you guys some really cool content to play with. Yeah, I'll have to finish this in the next 2 days because I want to spend the entire next week just updating stuff. It takes too long to do this stuff. This is the reason why I haven't updated. I keep telling people, like, people keep asking, why have you not updated? It's because there's a list of content I need to get done before I update, and the access system is one of them because it's needed to actually utilize a lot of the content properly. And what I didn't want to have happen is me to update, then spend all the time updating, and then have all this unfunctional content still sitting in 1.7 that doesn't work properly. Oh, I hear my phone chirping outside. What do we got here? Oh. Military history just released a new video. I'll have to go watch that later. That guy's got a great channel. It's where I'm learning learning a lot of information about different things. I also watch Ancient Arms and Armor or whatever it's called. Actually, that's not what it's called. I'm trying to remember the name of that channel. It's the guy who does the auction house thing where he shows you weapons and stuff and he talks about the weapons. I'm going to be using a lot of the stuff he talks about to make the armory mod. That's the reason why we're going to be doing a World War One and World War II era mod for the armory. We're probably still not going to do a modern one because a lot of the modern weapons are copyrighted, and you can't make them, which is the most stupidest thing I've ever thought of, or somebody's ever thought of, because it closes out a huge part of the market for game developers and mod developers, because it's like, hey, you can't use this material because it's copyrighted. I'm like, but we're giving them free advertisement. And if you ever go to them and go like, hey, I want to put your gun in my game, they're like, here, I want like 2% of your game's profits. Like, why do you want 2% of my game's profits? Because you're making money off my design. It's like, not really, because the people who play games are not necessarily going to buy guns, and the people who buy guns are probably not going to play games. They're almost two exclusive markets from each other that have very little overlap with each other. Yet you'll get a gun manufacturer that'll claim that you're stealing their profit from them. If anything, you're giving them free advertising to encourage people to buy their weapon. Because it's like, one of the weapons I actually want to buy if I ever get money is an RP90, and the very reason I want to buy that gun is because I used it almost exclusively in Call of Duty. Plus, I played the James Bond games and stuff too. It's a fucking amazing weapon. Okay, found the folder, files, Okay, it has found our player save, and it has loaded the player save. So there we go. That was the reason why stuff wasn't loading. So go ahead and remove that debug line, and we'll let the game run. Get the console open here. I want to click this link real quick. Where does it take you? That was unexpected. The page you were looking for is not. This is the reason why, if you ever make a mod with an update URL, make something like a Dropbox folder, or actually, no, you can't use Dropbox. You make some kind of public folder that has a file in it that tells you where the update link is in case you ever change your update links. Also, update links are retarded. I want to say that's Project E. Yeah, that's Project E's file. Palhammer is not one of the most intelligent when it comes to the update checks. Not to say he's dumb, he just... A lot of us mod developers are inexperienced to start with. Okay, there we go. Yeah, cool. I also added the one thing to say that this is who actually owns that profile. I need to add a couple spaces to that. It reads kind of weird when you look at it. Maybe I want to change the color too. I'm not quite sure how to do that though. Let's close all of these. I'm just going to go manually find that again. So that should be in Minecraft, Frameworks, Access, GUIs, Frame, Group, User. We got a lot of frames and stuff we got to put. I still haven't done like anything with the actual user tab, and I got to go work on that here later. Actually, I'm probably going to hold that off until after the 1.8 update. I'm just going to focus on groups and stuff because we're almost done. I mean, we can add stuff here. Add buttons disable, which is telling me something's wrong. This should only disable if you don't have permissions, and I may have miswrote it. So we're going to open this up real quick. So this is my user entry. Okay. Probably user array callback. Did I put it in here? Okay, so you have to have the node for it to be enabled, and you have to have has to be somebody other than you. Actually, this only disables. Oh, actually, this would disable the entire button. So that might be the problem. Okay, this is where the add button is disabled. So it sets it enabled if you have the node. So we're going to check this line real quick, and we're going to see if it's grabbing the right player. Okay, so go into here. Of course, we're going to have to do this weird go back and forth thing. Okay, so user null, which is fine, by the way. The reason why it's user null is it's what that object actually is. It is a access user multi-group object, and it does report the correct user here. What it's designed to do is if it detects the user in a multiple groups, so if I'm part of like the owner group and the admin group at the same time, it will go, okay, you're part of both these groups, so I'm going to return an object that will give me both of those super groups as your node check. So that looks good. So what we need to do is check to see if the node check's working. Yep, go into here. So we're looking for we're looking for node profile group user.add. We're not going to have the exact node, so we're just going to skip over that. The user, yeah, the user probably doesn't have the exact node. We probably were going to change this, so if you're the owner, you're marked with the root access automatically. So if even if somebody pulls you out of the group, you'll maintain everything. Okay, this is one we want to check. So this one's supposed to go through every single group. And why do we go straight down to, so it's this part here that's probably not working. So this needs to be get groups. So we want to check this thing here. That's what's causing the problem. So we're gonna hit play again, and that should take us right here. So groups.size. Okay. Group.getMember. No. So we're not. Yeah, we wouldn't be in the hostile group. That makes sense. We're not in the friendly group. We're not in the user group. We're not in the admin group. We're not in the owner group. Our username is null, which is going to tell me that it's not going to work here. Yeah, so there's nothing wrong with that method. It's just our user is null. So that means our get player. Yeah, it's our get player check is messed up. Not this exact thing. It's the what this calls. Get access user, which then returns this access multi-user. So I need to edit the access multi-user, which we're going to go ahead and close Minecraft because I'm going to have to override a few methods and fix a few things. So we go in here and should be a couple wrapper calls down here. So there's a get name. This needs to be fixed. Oh, you know what? That's not probably the reason that's not fixed is it should be temporary. Let me Google this real quick. Yeah, that should be temporary. This is an example of where I wrote code like multiple years ago, back when my English still sucked pretty bad. And for those who go like, oh, English is not native, no, English is my native language, but for a very long period of time, I had a really horrible vocabulary, and my ability to spell and write was really bad because my teachers in school gave up on me when it came to reading and writing, and just kind of let me do my thing. Which, speaking of which, I could read really, really well, but my vocabulary was low, so I did struggle with some larger books. My writing skills were the ones that were really, really bad because I didn't write. I physically didn't. Anytime I wanted to express anything, I drew it because I figured out drawings are. You don't have to know how to read to understand what a drawing is. Well, etc. This is for the hacking system, by the way. It should. There we go. I don't know why that's even that. Temp. Apparently, I'm going to have to get used to typing that word because I still don't know how to spell it properly. Okay, so there's a get name, but is there a get ID? So what we're going to do is we're going to hit refactor and we're going to encapsulate this. Encapsulate fields, refactor. Put that'll go down here. And then what we want the get ID part. Take that over here so we can redirect it to the main profile. Because this is why primary exists, so you can go primary.getUserID. And we'll do the same thing with the username. So this whole thing is kind of messed up. No, actually the copy method should be below toString. All the getters should be above it though. Above equal, and toString and copy should all be at the bottom. Okay, so yeah, we want this method. We'll probably want to encapsulate a few other things like get additional data and everything else. But I'll get to that stuff later. There's a lot of problems with doing a wrapper object is that stuff is not exactly where you want it to be. Another big thing is I do need to change out. I need to change out this object to an interface, because if I had an interface called iAccessUser, then I wouldn't need to worry about wrapping objects, because then what would happen is you would have to implement all the interfaces in here, and you would just wrapper them to your object here. You wouldn't have to override things, because the thing is, every time we're creating this object, we're creating a whole bunch of dead data at the top that is going to be junked after the next cleanup cycle. So in order to get around that, you would want to wrapper, because the thing with wrappering is you're only using these two variables. You're maybe using I want to say 4 to 5 bytes to create the object, and you would only create like this once per tick or once per method call. In theory, you would be caching your object, so hopefully you're only creating one of these per tick, but there's a lot of stuff that would have to be done and worked with. But this should fix our issue. I need to work on a lot of this problem, because a lot of this problem is stemming from the fact that this stuff isn't wrappered properly. One of the ways we can actually wrapper this. Oh no, let me go back to my object. Shoot, I closed everything, didn't I? We'll do this later. But the way we can actually wrapper this properly is instead of passing in a profile object, we can pass in the exact user instance, and then we can pull all the data from the user instance. So we can pull his UUID and his name. So if either of those two changes, which I doubt would ever happen while you were logged into Minecraft, we could update things. But the other benefit of this is we can cache a single multi-user profile object per player. Then we can just really quickly change the profile on it. So we can go, okay, you're accessing profile 1 or 2, we just change the profile, and then all the method calls wrap automatically for us. So we don't have to do any complex behavioral logic or anything. We just have to call things. It should fix, and we should get our buttons enabled again. Yeah, I want to change this maybe. Yeah. So what we want to do is I want to copy this. I want to get rid of this. And we're going to go into our user entry. Then in the update loop, we're going to go, okay, if get player, which this would be like this would be get host, which we would of course cast to access profile. Or this would be GUI access profile or access system. Get host dot get player dot has node. And actually, we don't need an if for this. What we want is to go remove user button dot set enabled that. So every single frame update, this will recheck the permission system and go, okay, do you have permission to edit this node? So if somebody edits the permission system on the server and it resyncs to the client and you lost your permission or gained it even, doesn't matter which was the case, it would update the button so you could change things. So you don't have to reload the whole GUI, it's in real time, it's going to update, which is really, really nice because I can't tell you how many applications I've used that don't have real-time updating. A very good example is Source Tree, which likes to be retarded. Like watch, you saw it right there. I opened it up and it took its sweet time to update, just to tell me I've edited some frame objects and stuff, which I think that's, yeah, it's about all we're editing. We're just kind of working on the access system here. Yeah, I'll go ahead and sync my current code up. So yeah, we just kind of, yeah, encapsulated. Which, by the way, I did make a couple access calls in the group that do now check the UID properly. I'm going to keep pushing towards that direction so we can get proper handling. Actual changes from var to constant. Getting too used to so many different languages. Like I'm using var in place of calling it a field, which is what it's called in screw LinkedIn. Yeah, this all looks good. Looks good. I've been getting a little bad about my commit messages, and I started using the other changes and stuff like that. Well, apparently we do have some changes to Volts Engine. They're marked over here. Oh yeah. Set save system to save VE version per save object, and set access system to load. There we go. Get some commit. It's always a good idea to make sure you're committing things. I failed to do this yesterday. It's where I lost some work. As I was working nonstop, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep recording, and lo and behold, power failures and stuff, and didn't commit things. It's been a bad habit ever since I started recording these dev work videos that I haven't been keeping up with actual commit logs. I'm not quite sure why precisely I started doing that, but it's been happening. Anyways, our load system's still working. If we open up owner, we still show up in there. It's our add button is still being finicky though. So we're gonna have to keep working on this. If I can't get the permission system to work precisely, I'll have to do something. I don't know. Maybe disable the permission node checks until I fix it. This should work. So where are we at right now? So okay, we don't need the group frame. We don't need the access GUI. We don't need the frame access. The callback is checking for permission node remove. Which, you know what, we're gonna remove this line because that's just one extra check that we don't need. And yeah, I need to add a couple spaces here. So I need to change the color of this, but I'm trying to think of. Right, let me answer that question. Yeah, if you ever get the question like, what's the best way to code? Google. I shit you not. That's the best way to code. So many people ask me, like, how did I learn to code? I quite literally learned by surfing the web and just working. I set forward with an ideal. Some of my very first projects I ever did, which by the way, even though I only say I've been coding for 7 years, I did actually code at an early age. It's just I didn't keep up with it. So I don't say I started coding at 12 or something like that, like a lot of people say, because I didn't keep up with it. My first coding projects were in C and stuff, and I did it for like 3 weeks during one summer, and I coded in BASIC a couple times. I did some websites and all that other stuff. But the first major time I started coding was in college when I was taking some physics classes. I started utilizing Java to do simulations. I also used things like Python and BASIC and C# and stuff, but Java's the one that stuck. And I was like, you know, let's do this real quick and stuff. And at the same time, I was also doing modding. I started dipping into modding because back when I was still in high school, I got introduced to what modding was, and I tried to do it. But my very first mod I ever made was the classic dirt to diamond style mod, but it was through a furnace. You stuck like dirt in a furnace and it made diamonds. And then you made your own block and everything. This predated the modding libraries and stuff that we have, so things like Forge and ModLoader. I did this with raw Minecraft. So you just decompiled it using whatever decompiler they had, which I believe might have actually been Fernflower. I actually have no clue what I used. And it gave you somewhat readable code. I think it's even back before they started obfuscating stuff, so it may have just been a Java decompiler. You opened it up, you made your changes, you recompiled the code, you put everything back into Minecraft, and then lo and behold, your block showed up. That was the very first thing I did, and I didn't know how to really code then. My only exposure around that time that kind of reinforced my ability is I was coding in binary and hex for microchips for electronics because I was studying electronics during that time. And we would program electronics with really basic things like turning LEDs on and off based on inputs and stuff. So I knew some programming. So some of the concepts of programming weren't too hard for me. But the majority of the stuff I learned, I Googled it and Googled more and more and more and more until I figured out what I was doing. Even back really, really early on when I was like 12 or 13, when I was taking classes in junior high on programming, that's the same way we were taught as well. We were taught, okay, follow the lecture, and if you want to do anything more, go on to like Ask and just search on Ask. This is predated before Google was the #1 search engine, by the way. So you had something like Ask, Jeeves, and a few other sites which were used more often. You had Yahoo as well, which I used quite a bit. Ask was my favorite though. And then of course I got exposed to Google, and Google became my favorite because Google was just, even up to today, there's nothing, there's no junk on it. So if we go to Google and you search in Google, look, you only have a search bar up here. If you go back to their, actually I didn't want to click that. So if we go all the way back to the main page of Google, you've got a search bar, you got a little logo, you got a couple buttons in here. It's really, really clean. I haven't looked at some of the other stuff, but if we go like the ask.com, I think it's still what it's called. You got some extra junk down here. You got some like literature stuff. To be honest, they're not any different. But like back when Ask was a thing, it had a lot of junk around it. You had like a really big guy on the one side. You had like news pages up here. For a while, there was ads on the side, and it just was cluttered. It loaded really slow. Google loads incredibly quick, especially if you have Chrome, because Chrome has this Google page pre-cached in it, so it'll load up instantly. So that way, when you do your searches, it's really, really fast. But yeah, if you want to learn to code, use Google. If you're having a problem with that, ask people. You go into forums, you go into chat systems, start talking to people, get people's help. Go into GitHub, look at people's projects. Just sit there and stare at their code and walk through the code. Like if you're looking through this, go like, what is this doing? I see some kind of button object. We're doing something with a string. We're doing an instance check, and you start asking questions like, why is it programmed this way? What does this stuff mean? And you work your way backwards, and you try to go to the most fundamental level of understanding. Like, what is a string fundamentally? It's an array of chars. And then you go, okay, what is an array? An array is a collection of objects that are in a linear list, and you just keep going backwards and backwards until you get down to the most fundamental level of the programming, ignoring, of course, going into the back end because you don't want to learn too much about the JVM. It'll just boggle your mind when you're learning the program. You want to start small. You want to make sure you're doing small projects. Do as many small projects as possible. Keep challenging yourself. Keep doing various other things, but et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, back to coding, so I'm not ranting constantly. I'll do a video on this on like the best ways to learn, but keep in mind, I'm not exactly a teacher, so what I'm telling you may not be the best for everybody. It's what worked for me. You got to find your own way to learn. Anyways, we're still having problems with the add button, so we want to fix that. Let me reload my code. Okay, my code's up to date. So we want the user entry, and we want to see what's going on with here. And I accidentally hit the Windows button. Still impressed that OBS sometimes works really, really well on capturing things. Okay, so we do have a name, and it's still a... I'm going to have to like rename the object structures and stuff and make them a little cleaner. But yeah, we're in access multi. We got our profile in here. Our profile for some reason is going info access.toString, which there's something wrong with that. Oh yeah, it's because I think the access system has a translation key on it for whatever reason. I don't know why. The fact is your error logs should mostly be in English. I know that not everybody speaks English, but the server-side implementation has no translations on it. You can't translate stuff server-side because they don't load. They only load client-side. So I mean, you can all your client-side errors, of course, should be translated, but all your server-side stuff should be in English. And if somebody's running a server, they can learn English. I mean, they can learn enough to get by. Some of this English is not too hard. Like the word error, you can figure that one out. I mean, it would be the same thing. It's like if we wrote all this stuff in Spanish and stuff, it would be the same ideal. But you get the point. It's yeah, we got to figure out what's going on here. So we're returning that, and we're going has permission node. Okay. So we're looking for root profile group permission.remove. So we're not going to have the exact node because none of the users start with nodes. We're not going to have the node because, none of the groups start with nodes. I literally just start checking to see if the nodes contain anything at this point. You see, like nodes nodes is empty. This doesn't. To be honest, it runs in constant time, so it's not too big of an issue. Okay, we're not getting back groups. Is our username null again? Yeah, we screwed up here. We want get username or get name. Okay, this should fix. Although I guess I fixed our add button, even though our add button still looks like it's disabled. I gotta work on this. I gotta figure out what's causing the double text render and causing the buttons to be dark. I think the darkness is just because it's double rendering. So I gotta go check to see what's causing double render. It's causing problems up here too. If you see like the names up here twice, that means render is being called twice on our object for some reason. So I'll have to work on that. It's not affecting everything. It's only affecting certain buttons. Like see the image button here is fine, but then this one down here, which is a GUI button 2, is not. It's having problems. It could be the GUI button 2 is having a render issue, but then that doesn't explain why the name up here is double layered as well. This is rendered separately. This would be part of the user GUI. Let's see, that would be this one. GUI frame group users. Must be in the super. Yeah, so right here is where it's rendered. So we draw a string and then we call do render down here. Let me check to see what do render does. No, and that's the only thing it calls it to. So we get draw button. My dog's whining at me too. Tazzy, chill. She probably wants outside. This dog will literally whine and act like she's dying just to go outside. And when she goes outside, she'll just lay in the sun. She picked up a really bad habit from one of our last dogs that did the same thing, although she quite literally was dying though. But that's another story. It's very tragic. Which means I probably have to cut this short so I can go take her for a walk, or she'll just bug me nonstop while I'm recording. So let's see. What I'm looking for right now is I'm trying to see if we're getting a duplicate. So it is rendering as 10,028 every single time. So we're getting the same ID every single time. And our group isn't changing every single time either, so we're good on that. It's hard to determine if you're getting a double call. So, can't think of how to do this precisely then. To be honest, I need to move this down here. Let me check subframe here. Do we have a render call in subframe? No. Do we have a render call in here? No. GUI frame? No. And then none of the component container shouldn't render anything. So we're getting a render from somewhere that's doing that double layer. So let me hit reload real quick. Says everything's up to date. Yeah, we're getting that double render. So we go out to here. I mean, we're rendering perfectly fine up here. So we're getting... Oh, problem with having pets sometimes. Let's just see if we can add somebody real quick to make sure. Oh yeah, we can still add. We remove people too, probably. Oh yeah, I forgot I left the debug key there when I was testing stuff. Oh, well, that crashed the server. Index array out of bounds exception. Oh, well, that tells me this hasn't updated. So it doesn't equal null, and then we want index is less than this dot length. Taz, come on! You were just outside too, like literally before I started recording. Come on, go lay down. I'll be right back. Okay, I've returned. So yeah, just like I noted, that I would let the dog outside and she would run straight to the couch that's out there and just lay in the sun. The dog throws a fit. Yeah, pretty much a spoiled little kid is what the dog acts like. It's unfortunate because I kind of blame myself for that because I spoil the dog. I give her toys all the time, play with her, stuff like that. So she expects to receive that treatment every single day. Not quite understanding that I changed my schedule so that I'm working till about 3 every day. And she's not used to that because usually when I'm awake, I'm interacting with her most of the time. So yeah, we want to check our length here because for some reason the index system has not caught up with everything. So we'll fix that. Our remove button should have worked though. We just kind of crashed because there's nothing to catch null point exceptions. I can fix that though. I have to add an error registry if I do that though, so that way we can show the errors in real time to the user, or me as the developer, because more importantly, I want to see the errors. You guys, the users, don't really need to see them, but it's a good idea to note that something did happen. So when a user goes, why is the button not working? And then you put an error up on the screen, they go, oh, that's why the button's not working. If you don't do that, then there's a gap in evaluation. For those who don't know or it's actually golf evaluation it's called. It's a terminology used by designers to describe when a user does an action and he fails to evaluate the outcome of the action simply because there's nothing to evaluate. Like if a key example of this is if I hit the up arrow on an elevator and the elevator doesn't move, but if I hit it 15 times and all of a sudden it starts to moving, I will evaluate that I have to hit that button 15 times to get the elevator moving, when in reality, the correlation is not there. The elevator was moving the entire time, but there was no indication to note the elevator was moving until the user could finally see that elevator. It's an example that was given to me by one of my professors. There's a lot more like that too, like soda machines failing to vend the product because they didn't say they're out of order. Machines spitting change back out at you but not telling you why, and you keep sticking the change in thinking maybe the change is not working. You try other change. I've actually had this happen to me personally where I've fed a machine different dollars thinking that the bill I was inserting was bad because the machine didn't tell me it was turned off. It was the stupidest thing ever too. The university I was going to, which was Columbus State Community College, they turned their machines off after a certain time of the day because they didn't want people loitering around doing stuff. And I'm like, that's really dumb because there's classes that go all the way to 1 in the morning there. And I'd be there and I'd be like, I want to get some food because I'm starving and I have a 4-hour class and the machine's turned off. And they never fixed it. They actually went the other direction with it. They ended up turning the machines off at like 5. I think they may have actually increased the time now. But the fact is they would turn them off and there was nothing to tell you to do it, though. I think after a while, a couple of their machines started to say sold out after a certain period of time, even though they actually were not sold out. This even confused one of the soda guys are going, why does the machine say sold out when it's full? And you go to them like, they turn the machines off. And they go, how they're doing that? I was like, probably Wi-Fi or something. A lot of the modern machines are Wi-Fi controllable, and especially if you see one with a card reader, they have a Wi-Fi system on it. If you guys are paranoid about your card information getting stolen, don't use those machines. Especially if you see Nintendo come off of it. Ethernet ones aren't too bad. They're supposed to be secure too, so I mean, don't get really paranoid about it. The machines are supposed to be amazing on security. Oh, we still crashed. We're gonna have like constant issues with this because at some point in time, the index is being changed, but then the shit is being reloaded. Update entry, which is down here. Okay, so what we want to do... Yeah, actually that's fine, that'll work. We want to go figure out what's causing this to break like this. Okay, that's good. Technically. This is going button entries. It's probably because we're not setting that to null. We are updating the length. And apparently that's causing this to fail. And... Okay, we are doing the right thing. We are hiding the button, and then we're showing it. So this is set up correctly. We just have to make sure that our update entry code is running properly, and it should be fine. we'll just have to remember that there's a chance that those can null point because it's calling update entry on everything, and then I need to add a callback so you can set things to be hidden or not. That way you can decide if you want to stop rendering something or not. We'll do a couple other things in here because the point of this is we want to make sure that this permission system is really elegant. It's really nice to use, really simple to use, highly user-friendly. This will come in the form of doing color codes on things, so we'll start to color code some of the profiles. So the admin and owner will have certain colors to them, and those will be customizable. So you know that settings GUI we had that didn't have anything on there? That'll start having stuff. Groups will start having their own settings GUI, so you can modify groups settings. One of the things I know I want to add is to allow groups to be publicly viewed and be publicly joinable. So you can make something like a village group, and anybody can get into the village group, but then they can't get permissions. But they'll show up in the village group, so that way they're there. There will also be like some kind of auto add system, so you auto add users to a group, so you know who has access. And there will be an auto promotion system, so you can maybe promote users automatically up and down after they've been into a group for a certain amount of time. Auto demotion systems. So much stuff I want to add to this because I want to make this work amazingly well. I want this to be almost no time required to toy with it. It needs to be stupid friendly. So like the dumbest users should be able to come in to use this system and utilize it, because that's actually one of the things a couple of my clients have asked about this because they want to utilize this system. Especially for the Sentry guns, one of my clients, like, he keeps raising concerns that some of the users, because they're like 13 years old who play on his server, are not going to utilize something like this effectively. My dog's barking to be let in. Yeah, a lot of work to get done on this and a lot of different things and et cetera, et cetera. Apparently my dog didn't want inside. I have to pick like better recording times because got construction going on down the road, people going back and forth. I'm surprised my mic doesn't pick up a lot of this, considering that I can hear it really, really well. And I don't know how much the mic can hear. I know the mic here picks up static from the headset because the headset's wireless and has some static problems with it. I need to work on de-interferencing my house, which is meaning I've got to put up some devices to catch random interference. I've got to do a bit of other work. I think my dog's barking again. We're gonna get this fixed, and I'm gonna go maybe take her for a walk so she'll be all tired out and not bark at me and stuff. Okay, so it did remove it. So if we hit remove this time, it worked. Okay, and if we hit add, cool. So it's working. I mean, this system's working amazing. It's like a dream come true that I've got this going, because this is something I've been dreaming about implementing for like 3 years now, and I finally have got around to doing it. And I mean, it may not seem like much, but I've got all these amazing ideals to put into Minecraft, but they take me so long to do because I'm one of the few developers working. I know I've got like him and Poosicle, and they both do their fair amount of work, but we need like another 15 developers to implement what we want. Not just for Minecraft, we plan to modify other games, and we plan to make games as well. And part of doing that is we want to get a decent sized team, because 1 or 2 guys can make a game or a mod in a year. A team of 15 can produce an entire world in a year. And what I mean by an entire world is everything we need. We can build the cannons, the tanks, the buildings, the power lines, the machinery, the lighting, the cosmetics, everything we want. And we're not doing this, by the way, so if people are like afraid of us taking over the entire modding marketplace, that's not our plan. We don't care. We are building these mods because we want to play the game in a certain way, and we want to let other people experience that as well. Anyways, what else do we want to work on with this? We still have no system to add things in here. We can still kind of look at our stuff. Actually, you know what I need to do? I need to reset this profile, and there's no way to delete profiles. So we're going to need to add that. We'll have to add a trash can button over here, because right now this is our button row for refreshing. This button actually needs to go over here, and I need to replace another button over here, which will refresh just this profile. I also need to add tabs to the top of this, so you can do your tab system. We'll do that in the next video because we're already at an hour, and I apologize for the video not really doing much, but that's kind of modding for you. You kind of get stuff done or you don't get stuff done. Anyway, see you later with more content.